Infantry wants to know, did you fight against both the VC and the NVA? If so, what were the differences between them, if any at all?
Yeah, that's a good question, because people who know about the war have the opinion that the Marines only fought up around the DMZ in Quang Tri province. Actually, we suffered more casualties in Quang Nam province, where I was during the war, than any other province in country. And the fighting might have not have been as intense as up on the DMZ, but it was continuous. The infantry was constantly engaged with local VC and also with NVA, and it was continuous. I mean, the only respite the infantry ever got was during the monsoon, when it was so rainy that no one was fighting. So it was bad. We had several major operations in Quang Nam province where there were a number of casualties on both sides, but they don't get the recognition in the history books the way they should. When I was in Force Recon, almost 100% of our engagements were with North Vietnamese units. And those units, we knew who they were. They were the regiments, the subordinate regiments of the 2nd NVA Division, or the 368th Missile Regiment, which was the one that lobbed rockets at the air base on occasion. Also the 402nd Sapper Battalion, which is the one that we ambushed. They were actually, supposedly, the 402nd Sapper Battalion was supposed to be VC. But when we captured their records, we found out that over 90% of their soldiers came from North Vietnam. And that was another misperception, I think, on the part of a lot of people, that most of the time we engaged North Vietnamese Army. And North Vietnamese Army were different from the VC. The VC, as a general rule, were much more defensive oriented. They didn't like to engage. They broke contact quickly. They weren't particularly skillful, not well equipped, oftentimes with just a single magazine. I never really worried, even when I was in the infantry, about the VC. It was the NVA that I worried about, because they were real soldiers. They were well trained. They were well equipped. In many cases, better equipped than we were. Certainly, much better equipped than the ARVN. The ARVN really never even had the M16 rifle until 1968. They were dealing with World War II hand-me-downs and doing a pretty good job with it, but they were not properly equipped. It was a failing on the part of the Americans, I think, not to equip the ARVN better. It would have hugely improved their morale, and their fighting ability. But the enemy had some weapons that were clearly as good, if not better, than ours. The AK-47 was an excellent weapon, easier to maintain than the M16, had a heavier round, penetrated in the jungle better than the 5.56. They also had the RPD machine gun, which was a very good light machine gun. And they had them in numbers. They had RPGs, something that we never really carried in the infantry until we had laws. We had the 3.5 rocket launcher, which was not particularly adapted to Vietnam. So the enemy had some good equipment. They also had claymores. They had fairly large numbers of grenades. They were Chinese grenades. Those grenades were not as good as our M26s, but they had a lot of them. The weakness of the NVA usually is in the meeting engagement. They did a lot of they did their homework before they made an attack. They used sand tables, they did map studies, and they prepared for long periods of time without engaging. They chose their time to engage and the place to engage, which gave them an advantage. They had some highly skilled sapper units. They were good. They were good. They were not good in meeting engagements. In other words, when you met them on a trail out west, they just did not react well or quickly. The same applied when I was in the infantry. They in a meeting engagement, they were often confused, probably looking to get orders from someone, and they didn't react as quickly as we did. However, in the defense, they were very, very tough. When they got into a fortified village, getting them out of that village was really tough because they were staunch and brave soldiers.
That's definitely one thing, like you said at the beginning, people have such preconceived notions about the VC definitely, but the NVA thinking, they're just